Hey guys, what's up? How are you doing? I really hope you guys are doing well. If you're new here, I'm Ryan, I'm a writer. Today we're going to continue with part 3 of The Story of a Little Princess. And a reminder, it's been written by Frances Hodgson Burnett and it's a real story. So in part 1 and part 2, we learned about how when Sarah went from India to London and went to Miss Minchin's English school. So at first, before everything happened and the drama, Miss Minchin had her nice face, but in front of her dad, in front of Sarah's dad. But after they found out that there are no diamond mines, there is no dad, no father for Sarah, Miss Minchin revealed her real face, which is the mad, angry face, and she turned Sarah into her maid. So let's continue in part 3. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Windows over the roofs of the house. In her pocket, Sarah had some small pieces of bread. She put her hand out of the window with the bread on it. Watch, she said. After a minute, a little brown bird flew into Sarah's hand and began to eat the bread. Then a second bird came, and a third, and a fourth. Oh, Sarah, how wonderful, said Ermengarde. They know I'm their friend, said Sarah. So they're not afraid. Sometimes they come into my room, too. Ermengarde looked across the roof to the next attic window. Who lives in that house? She asked. Nobody, said Sarah sadly. So I never see anybody at that window, and I can only talk to the birds. But 2 or 3 weeks later, Becky came into Sarah's room. She was very excited. Ooh, miss, she said, an Indian gentleman is moving into the house next door. Well, he is English, but he lived in India for years and years. And he's going to live next door. He's very rich and he's ill. Something bad happened to him, but I don't know what. Sarah laughed. How do you know all this? She said. Well, Miss, the Carmichael family across the street, Becky said. I'm friendly with their kitchen girl, and she told me Mr. Carmichael is the Indian gentleman's lawyer, so they know all about him. Chapter 4, Ramdas and the Monkey. Every morning, when Sarah gave the birds the bread, she looked across the attic window next door, but nobody opened it. Nobody called out good morning across the roof, or gave Sarah a friendly smile. Perhaps the Indian gentleman's servants are all downstairs, she thought sadly. Her life was very lonely now. She saw Becky every day, of course, but they did not have much time to talk. The cook and the other servants were not friendly. Sometimes at night, Ermengarde came to Sarah's room, but it was very not easy for her to come often. Then one evening, Sarah was in her attic when she heard a noise on the roof. She looked up, and there at the window was a small monkey. Oh, you little dear, cried Sarah. At once, the monkey jumped up and began to run around the room. Sarah laughed. She got up on the table and looked out of the window. And at the window she saw a face of smiling an Indian Lascar. Oh, cried Sarah, have you got a monkey? He's in my room. The Lascar's name was Ramdas, and yes, it was his monkey. He gave Sarah a big smile. I'm sorry, he said. Can I come and get him? Oh, yes, please, said Sarah. I think he's afraid of me, and he runs so fast, but can you get across the roof? Yes, Ramdas could. And a minute later, she was in Sarah's room. Sorry. Soon the monkey jumped into his arms, and Ramdas thanked Sarah again and again. Then he went away across the roof, back into the house next door. Sarah went to the shops 5 or 6 times a day, and when she walked past the house next door, she often thought about the Indian gentleman. She felt sorry for him. He had no wife or family, and the doctor visited the house every day. Mr. Carmichael, the lawyer, often visited too, and sometimes the Carmichael children went with him. Sarah was pleased about that. It's nice to see friendly faces when you are ill, she thought. The Indian gentleman thought that too. He liked children very, very much, but he was a very unhappy man. Mr. Carmichael was his friend, and he talked to him a lot, but they talked about only one thing. I must find that child, said the Indian gentleman. His name was Mr. Carrisford. I must find her and take care of her. But where is she? Here I am with all his money from the diamond mines, and half of it is all Ralph Prew's money. Oh, Carmichael, why did I leave my friend and run away with things? Why, you ran away because you were ill with a fever, said Mr. Carmichael. It nearly killed you, remember? And it did kill poor Ralph, said Mr. Carrisford. He put all his money into the mine because I was his friend, but at first we didn't find any diamonds. And all Ralph's money was gone. I was afraid to tell him, so I ran away, and later, when we did find diamonds, Ralph was dead. He laughed angrily. What a brave friend I was. It's not easy to be brave, Mr. Carmichael said quietly, when you're ill with a fever. Mr. Carrisford looked into the fire. Ramdass tells me, he said, about a little servant girl next door. The monkey ran away, and Ramdass went across the roof to get him back from her room. The poor child sleeps in a cold, dirty attic and works about 16 hours a day. Is it Ralph's daughter living in that? I can't stop thinking about it. We're going to find her one day, said Mr. Carmichael. But how? Said Mr. Carrisford. He put his head in his hands. I never saw her. I don't know her name. Ralph always called her Little Missou. We talked all the time about the mines. He never told me about the name of the school. Her mother was French, so I did take a little about her school in French. Or was it in England? Well, we know there was a child at school in Paris, said Mr. Carmichael, with the name of Carew or Crew. Her father died suddenly, and a Russian family took her away with them because she was a friend of their daughter's. Perhaps this girl is Ralph's school child. Next week I'm going to Moscow to look for her, but I want to go with you. But I'm not well, said Mr. Carrisford. I must find her, Carmichael, I must. Every night in my dreams I see Ralph Crew in my face. And he says, Tom, where is my little Missou? And I have no answer for him. Mr. Carrisford took his friend's hand. Help me to find her, help me. Winter came with its short, dark days, and the attic rooms were very cold. There were no fires for servants' girls, and often Sarah and Becky could not sleep because of how cold it was. Sarah was taller now, and her old black dress was very short. Her shoes were old, and she had no warm coat for the winter weather. She was thin too. She did not get very much to eat, and she was always hungry. She carried big baskets of shopping through the rain and the snow. One day she found a sixpence in the snow, and she bought some hot new bread with it. Then she saw a child by the door of the shop. The child had no shoes and no coat, and her thin face was blue with cold. She is hungrier than I am, thought Sarah, and she gave her new bread to the child. When she got back to the school, Miss Minchin was angry. Cook is waiting for you, Sarah. Why are you late? I can't walk quickly through the snow, said Sarah. My shoes are old. Miss Minchin did not like to hear this. Don't speak to me like that, she said. I am kind to you and I am giving you a home, but you never say thank you to me. Sarah looked at her. You are not kind, she said quietly, and this is not a home. Go to your room at once, said Miss Minchin. On the stairs, Sarah met Lavinia. Lavinia looked at her and gave a little laugh. Oh, here's Princess Sarah, she said, in her old dress and her dirty shoes. In the attic, Sarah sat down on the chair by her table. I must be brave, she whispered. A princess is always brave, so I must be too. But it's not easy. She put her head down on her arms. Oh, Father, do you remember your little Missou? Can you see me now? And in the house next door, Mr. Carrisford sat by the warm fire. Moscow is a long way from London, and he could only wait. But he thought about Ralph Crew's child every day. He thought about other children too. Ramdass, he said, how is that poor little servant girl next door? Can we do something for her? I see her in the streets every day, said Ramdass. In the rain, in the snow, she looked so thin and hungry. But we can help her. I can easily get her through in the attic window. Listen, and he talked for some minutes. Mr. Carrisford smiled. Yes, he said to Ramdass. Yes, I like it too. Let's do it. The Magic, Chapter 5. One night, a week later, Ermengarde got quietly into bed and went upstairs to the attic. Sarah was not there, so Ermengarde sat on the bed and waited. At 10 o'clock, Sarah came in slowly up the stairs, and into the room. Ermengarde looked at her. "Oh, Sarah," she said, "are you ill? Your face is white and you look so tired." "It was a hard day, Ermi," said Sarah. She sat down. Miss Minchin was angry with the cook. Then the cook was angry with us. Becky and I had no dinner and no tea. "Does that happen often?" said Ermengarde unhappily. "You never told me. Are you hungry now?" Sarah looked at her. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I am. I would like to eat at the table. I would like to eat you," said Ermengarde, jumped up. "Sarah," she cried, "I had a box of things from her house today. There's a big cake in it. I'm going to get it now. You and Becky can eat it all." Soon Ermengarde was back. The three girls sat on Sarah's bed, and there was very happy smiles. When Ermengarde opened the box, she took out the cake. "Oh, miss, look at that," said Becky. "You were kind, Ermi," said Sarah. She loved it. It's magic, you know. When things are very bad, something nice always happens. Here we are having a party. Ermengarde gave Sarah and Becky some cake, and they began to eat. Suddenly they stopped. There was a noise of feet on the stairs. They listened. "Oh no," whispered Becky. It's Miss Minchin." Miss Minchin said Sarah. "Yes," said Sarah. Her face was white again. Then the door opened and Miss Minchin came in. "So, Lavinia was right," she said angrily. "Tea with Princess Sarah? Becky, get back to your attic at once." "Oh, please, Miss Minchin," cried Ermengarde. "It was my cake from home. We're only having a party." "Go back to your room, Ermengarde," Miss Minchin said coldly. "And take these things with you. And tomorrow?" "Tomorrow," she looked at Sarah and said, "there is no breakfast, no dinner, and no tea for you. Remember that." Soon the attics were quiet again, tired again, and hungry. Two servant girls went to sleep, but after an hour or two, Sarah opened her eyes. "Was it a noise from the window, perhaps?" said Sarah. "Something is different," Sarah whispered. "What is it?" She sat up on the bed and looked again and again, and her eyes were very big. The room was different, very different. There was a wonderful hot fire, there were new warm blankets on her bed, and beautiful pictures on the walls. Sarah slowly got out of bed. "Is this a dream?" she said. "Where did all these things come from?" She put out her hand to the fire. "No, it's not a dream. The fire is hot. I can feel it. And oh, look at the table. There were a beautiful red cloth table made from cups and plates. There were very hot teacups and wonderful things to eat. Hot meat pies and sandwiches and cake, oranges and apples." Sarah ran to Becky's room. "Becky," she whispered, "come quickly. The magic is here again. Come and look." And that was part 3 of A Little Princess. Just so you guys know, in the incoming videos, I'm going to finish the story of A Little Princess. I'm going to start a new story that's been written by me. And also I'm going to talk about Eid, since Ramadan is about to finish. About 2 weeks left. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Bye!